This is N3VCA doing a quick review of the IWISS Power Pole Crimper. Part number is AP153045. They named it that because it can crimp those particular connectors. As you can see, the dies and the hinges are pretty stout, and if I turn it over, the long handles and ratcheting action makes it easy to crimp all your power pole connectors. The first wire we're going to connect is a 10 gauge, which I'm going to be using the 45 amp connector. So I'm just going to slide it into the die here, make sure it's right side up, and push it all the way in. And the connector goes in here, and oops, I just pulled it out. I'm just trying to get it situated. Push it in. And put the connector right side up. And I'm gonna crimp. And now it won't release until you've crimped it all the way. So when you hear that click, you can release it. And here's our first crimp. So let me do the negative side. I'm going to repeat the same process. Hopefully it'll go a little bit smoother. I'm trying to do this behind the camera, so excuse me if it's a little crooked. So I want to have the terminals facing the same way, so I'm going to bend this off. And you would just want to keep them straight, and oops, one of my there we go. And I'm going to slip this in. Try to keep them somewhat straight. If you have an orientation, I usually use my thumb to keep the top of the wire on both sides. So if I hold them like this, I know this is the top, so when I peel it off, that's my 12 o'clock position. And I'm just going to push it in and crimp down. Let me give it. And there. Oops. Oh, that didn't come out well at all. I'm going to have to redo this one because it went through sideways. That's probably my fault because I'm doing it behind camera. Okay, here's the result of not keeping it straight when you're crimping. But like I said, that was my fault for not paying attention when I squeezed down on it because I'm doing it behind camera. But lesson learned. Okay, I did the next one off camera and it came out much better. Now time for the insertion of the terminal into the housing. It should just go in and should hear a click. If it's done correctly. I'm feeling a little bit of resistance. I wanted to note that this doesn't, that's the side view of the terminal, so it doesn't round off the terminal. It just makes basically a perfect square. And so we're going to insert this until we hear a click. Installation's a little bit in the way. Oh, and there we go. And the next one, a little more difficult, and the installation's fighting it. That's not quite through yet. Oh, there we go. So that's our completed connector. This video is not to show you how to crimp a connector, but the quality of the connector, the crimp itself from the tool. So next I want to try a 30 amp connector, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, here's the 30 amp connector. I'm going to try crimping this one in place because I do have an inline fuse here, so I want to make sure that I'm perfectly straight with the fuse. So so here we go. Putting it in, and make sure it's straight like I want it, and then make sure the connector's straight, and give it a squeeze. I hear it click, and I can release it. And here is the crimped connector. Again, it's perfectly square to fit into the housing. It's not oval or rounded off. That's the back side. Here is our other 30 amp connector in line with the fuse. Like I said, I just want to make sure it's straight, so I'm going to crimp it in place. Like I said, you just want to make sure it's straight when you go to crimp it. And I'm just eyeing it up here. Give it a little twist and squeeze. Clicks and releases. Again, here's the if you can see that, there's the quality of the crimp. Pretty much square. It doesn't go beyond, it doesn't mushroom out. Okay, here are our ends, and they need to be inserted into the connector. Sometimes I find that these the springs in here are a little stiff, so I'm going to use a little piece of wire and help bend those down so it goes in smoothly. These contacts have a lot of force behind them, and there we go. Got that one in. I just had to twist it correctly, and then the other side. There we go. They're locked in, and we're good to go. Overall, this is a good crimper for the money. The problems I did have were my own fault, not so much a problem with the crimper itself. I just have to make sure I align it in the jaws for a proper crimp. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And if you like it, share it. And this is N3VCA. Thanks for watching.